I'm going to take you to March 23rd. March 23rd, 2015.
I found his iPad. He was texting this woman.
Another confrontation, another argument about something or other.
He threw the Red Bull can.
Johnny then hurls a Red Bull can and it hits Debbie in the back. She didn't really seem to notice.
I saw Miss Heard throw a Red Bull can that struck Mr. Depp in the back.
I remember that something was thrown from up there.
Hit me in the face with this cast.
Johnny was hitting me, and he was hitting me hard and repeatedly.
He strikes me in the back. She smacks him, lands one.
She was, trying to get to me, trying to hit me.
My sister all of a sudden put herself in between Johnny and I.
Whitney stepped in front of Amber and was facing Amber to stop Amber.
He was about to push my sister down the stairs.
I honestly don't. I don't know what he was aiming for. My back was to him.
And you weren't injured during that incident, right?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, hi there. Hello, hello, hi. It's my face again. Swoop! 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 Okay, welcome back. We are continuing this series covering the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, and today we'll be digging into all the nitty-gritty of the staircase incident with Johnny, Amber, and her sister Whitney, because this mess, whoo child, it is a disaster of contradictions that I don't think many people realize. It's also one of the most critical parts of this trial because it is the only instance where a witness, Amber's sister, is claiming to have actually witnessed first-hand assault alleged against Johnny Depp. So if you are into research deep dives, this is the place to be. Okay, we going deep like your last Tinder date. You know who you are. Now, of course, if you like this video, please check out my series and consider supporting me on Patreon or the tip jar, which many of you have kindly asked for. I will have links to both of those in the description. If you have evidence or a leak that you would like me to investigate in this case, hit me up on Twitter. It's linked below and my DMs are open. Now, with all of that digging, we also dig deeper into the root psychology, and sometimes we take it to Petty University, okay? Professor Petty is here, class is in session, cause honey, bitches be playing games, okay? And yes, Your Honor, we do have Petty University merch, okay? Professor Petty has entered the chat, okay? Class in session. The freshman collection is poppin', y'all, so if you want to put your sassy Petty on display, I got you covered. And finally, I promise, real quick, and then we're going to deep dive. I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, and a thank you to you, because without y'all being here tuning in, like, who would I be, bitch, okay? I just love our community so much. Okay, I think we can all agree that the last few years have been a challenge when it comes to self-care. And if you're anything like me, you might tend to put your own self-care in the back seat so that you can help those who are close to you. Well, honey, it's time you give yourself some of that tender love and care. So Care Of is an amazing wellness subscription service that makes it easy to get the right vitamins, supplements, and protein for your individual needs by delivering high-quality, personalized vitamins every month right to your front door so you can finally relax and do something good for your body. All you do is take a short, in-depth quiz about your health goals and get personalized recommendations on your answers. And so I focused my goals on taking care of my gut, my energy levels, and reducing inflammation. So everything comes in like this organized box, and you literally just have your supplements in individual packs just like this. And inside of here are all of my supplements. So I am currently taking vitamin D to keep my bones strong, and vegetarian collagen for my joints, and a B complex to boost my energy and also give me healthier hair, okay? I also got a collagen powder because, let's be honest, it's 2022. A bitch ain't got time for wrinkles. Honestly, I'm already seeing results in my energy levels, and my gut has been less volatile. They use good for you, clean ingredients that are backed by science and research, and the personalization of the packs based on my own quiz was really refreshing. So if you want to join me in this self-care journey, take Care Of's quiz to find out what's recommended for you, and then use my code SWOOP to get 50% off your first order. Honey, we love a discount, so take the quiz and use code SWOOP for 50% off and treat yourself for a change. You deserve it. Okay, back to the doc. Okay, we are going to do a side-by-side comparison of testimonies from Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, and her sister Whitney. Now, just for a little personal context, I personally have bias as a survivor. I have survived DV, IPV, and SA, and I do not believe there's such a thing as a perfect victim or perfect abuser. And while there's overwhelming recorded evidence of Amber Heard abusing Johnny, like, he's not a saint. Like, ultimately, no one will ever know exactly what happened except for them. That's why I personally am waiting to hear all of the evidence first, just to be fair, like a jury would have to. So, like Pete Davidson and Kanye's nightmares, let's dive in.
He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back. I hear Amber shout. She smacks him, lands one. At that point, that's when Travis runs up the stairs.
Okay, we're gonna dig into this staircase incident, and what I've done is I've laid out kind of side by side the different testimonies to show like the inconsistencies within all of their stories. And we're also gonna take a look at the UK witness statements and the UK trial testimony, as well as a few other things. So let's go into it.
So I was in what they call PH4. Johnny owns the mall, and he was kind enough to let us all live there. So
this is a diagram that I just pulled out so that you guys can have a visual what's going on.
I was in PH4. Amber and Johnny were in PH3. I believe Isaac was in 2, and Rocky and Josh were in 1.
So again, all of this took place in the Eastern Columbia building, which is in downtown Los Angeles, and in fact, I was just there. Just so you all know how deep dive I'm taking this, the building that all of this happened is literally right there, the Eastern Columbia building. They'll refer to it as ECB. This incident, the TRO cell phone incident, many of the allegations happened in that building right there. James Franco, Elon Musk, the elevator shots, everything. Right there. I know, it is honestly such a beautiful building, and I see it like all the time. It's just wild to think all of these allegations happened right there where I see it all the time. Yeah, all right, let's continue.
So again, I was kind of sandwiched between where Johnny and Amber stayed and Amber's closet. So basically you had to cut through to get to one point to the other.
So what she's saying here is that there were doors that connected all of these rooms. So you could literally start in penthouse 3 and walk into penthouse 4 and into penthouse 5 on the upper level.
I think he was staying at the Eastern Columbia, at the ECB.
First of all, I just gotta say, she starts off these stories saying things that automatically kind of make me as a listener feel like, are you telling the truth? And I say that because she says, I think he was staying at the ECB. Your entire allegation of the story happens in the ECB. So saying I think that he was staying there is a strange way to kind of start out the story.
Staying at the Eastern Columbia, at the ECB. Yeah, he was staying at the ECB at the time because we were kind of in the bedroom together the night of the 22nd.
Now, this incident happened after the Australia incident where Johnny lost part of his finger. I did a whole deep dive on that incident and analyzed all the inconsistencies and their witness statements and documents. If you guys want to check that out, I will have it linked below. Keep in mind, while all of this story is being alleged, his finger was injured still, pretty significantly.
Which is when he passed out, how I found his iPad.
Now, I noticed that she uses the word passed out. Her side, what we've seen classically, they use the word passed out or blacked out anytime Johnny is probably asleep. They use these specific words to try to make the jury think, without saying it so much, that Johnny was on some type of substance.
I found his iPad open. He was texting someone with it open. He passed out, and I saw what he was texting.
Please tell the jury about that.
First of all, I have to interject here, Your Honor. I do have questions here when she says that he was passed out and that his iPad was there. Generally speaking, most people have like an auto, sleep or shut off of their devices if they're not using it. It's usually within like a minute to maybe 3 minutes, I think is the average. If she's saying that he's passed out there with his iPad with him, and she just happened to, glance and see that he was texting somebody, I have to reserve the fact that that could be the case, but this sounds more like a wife who was snooping through her husband's business. So let me dabble in the snoopage. You know what I mean?
He was texting this woman that he had a relationship with on and off at the beginning of our relationship. so I recognized the name. But the date was right after the wedding. I saw it. He had gone to her house after we got married. Like, upon touching down in Los Angeles, I think it was the next day, he went to this woman's house that he has this sexual relationship with. And
What did you do as a result of seeing that on the iPad?
I freaked out.
Man, her whole demeanor changes right there. She's like telling, and I'm talking the story, and I'm looking to the jury, and I'm looking, and then asks, what happened when you discover that? I freaked out. Like, it's much more direct. It was to the attorney. There was an anger there. I'm inclined to think that she probably did find some text messages. It's a fair thing that you would probably be upset, right? Just to give a little more context, because y'all know Swoop, just gonna dig into a little bit. I went through Johnny's testimony at the UK trial. They asked him directly about this woman. It says that Rochelle, I think, was a girlfriend. Is that right? The witness is Johnny here. She was a girl that I had dated. I was seeing before I started seeing Miss Heard on a regular basis. Yes. So you were seeing Rochelle at the same time that you were seeing Miss Heard. It looks like it, does it not? And he says, one could assume that there was what you are suggesting. That's such a great non-answer in a way. I ended up having to stop seeing her. Saying I ended up having to stop seeing Rochelle is an interesting way to put it, right? Either it was a pressure from Amber, you need to stop seeing this woman, or that he had to stop her out of reluctance, but that he didn't necessarily maybe want to. So after Miss Heard and I broke up, yes, I did see Rochelle. I'm sorry, y'all, I could not, every time I hear Rochelle, I cannot think of anything other than the Seinfeld episode.
Rochelle, now playing at the Paradise 2.
But found text messages between Mr. Depp and another woman, right?
First of all, okay, I need to pause and then we're gonna jump back into it, I promise. But can we just talk about Camille's all-white power suit? Everyone was all on Miss Vasquez, okay? She coming in hot with the hot sauce. It is such a move for her to come in with an all-white night power suit after this. Bitch, you got the audacity, the balls, the gumption, and I'm personally here for it.
But found text messages between Mr. Depp and another woman, right?
That is correct.
So you confronted him about cheating on you.
That's correct.
So this is shortly after Mr. Depp supposedly sexually assaulted you with a bottle, right?
It was 2 weeks after he assaulted me, yes.
I know exactly where Camille's about to go with this.
And you decided to confront him about cheating on you?
I didn't decide to. I wanted to.
Camille does a really good job here. She asks questions, gets the answer, and moves on, but it sits there, right? It just sits on the jury's mind, and they're gonna be probably thinking, like, if she was so viciously attacked the way that she says that she was in Australia, allegedly, is it common of an alleged victim to be able to, a couple of weeks later, confront who they say is their abuser and confront them about cheating and be yelling and screaming at them about, and I gotta say, like, you know, while I will always reserve the possibility that that is something that a victim could do, I don't want to, you know, we'll never fully know, but it's not what I would consider typical behavior of a victim, because I would think there would be the overriding fear that they might retaliate and do something horrible to you again.
Mr. Depp's finger was freshly injured at this point, right?
He had a cast on it.
The top of his right finger had been cut off 2 weeks prior.
That is correct.
And he had a pin in his finger. True?
Ugh.
I don't recall when the pen was placed.
A skin graft?
I'm not quite sure. He had several different procedures and they were kind of spread out over a period of time, so I don't remember what happened.
With that, I don't really know. Like, Amber would have been well versed on his medical records leading up to this trial in preparation, and so did she not know about that timeline? It's possible, but I don't know. So with that, now let's jump real quick to Debbie Lloyd. So Debbie Lloyd was a witness who was present for this staircase incident, and let's see what she has to say in regards to Johnny's condition.
At this time on March 23rd, he had bandages and a skin graft and pins in his finger. According to this, yes.
There it is right there. And that was video that was played for Amber before she got up on the stand and testified. So her saying that she didn't know, I mean, you were in the courtroom. I'm just saying. It was a very fresh wound. When your finger is severed
that's not going to heal up for a very long time, and so my finger was still a very fresh wound.
And what type of cast would you have had on at this time?
It wasn't a cast per se, as it was bandaging.
So this is interesting because Johnny says that it wasn't a cast, it was bandaged. But it's kind of like this gray area because we do know he did get a few casts, okay. Then we see this one here, looks like more of a full hand cast, and it's got some green dinosaurs on it, which we will hear about in a little bit from Whitney's testimonies. And I want you to put a pin in that because this is gonna be a really important detail later on when I bring up the UK witness statements and testimony, because we're gonna find out neither of them ever mention a cast at all. We're gonna get to that.
I immediately confronted him about it.
She's talking about having stumbled on or snooped, whatever, that Johnny was talking to Rochelle.
I didn't care in that moment if he did kill me, which was likely.
Oh, that is such a loaded way to set up a story for the jury. And
I didn't even care anymore. At this moment, he had already ripped my heart out. You know, it's like I've just been through it is
such a way to front load a story to make it sound like it's going to be so severe by saying, I didn't care in that moment if he killed me.
Just weeks prior, I see this, it was like...
These breaths that she's taking, interrupting her story, it's almost like she's gathering thoughts. How do I want to piece this together? How do I want to set this up? To me, this reads more like how I would anticipate an actor is kind of setting up the scene and setting up the emotion going into, and now I'm gonna deliver this part of the monologue, and now I'm gonna deliver this next part. But let me know in the comments what you guys think.
Unbelievably painful. Unbelievably painful.
The story her setup here could be the truth, but maybe she just feels like people inherently don't believe her, so she has to oversell it. That could be a possibility.
So, what did you do?
I'm yelling at him. So yelling. I was calling him all these ugly names. I was screaming at him. Told him to get the fuck out of the house.
This is interesting. So she admits to yelling at him, screaming at him, calling him, and all these nasty words. I want to jump to Amber's UK witness statement. Listen to her setup here. Soon after Johnny's return to LA, we got into a big argument one night because I found messages that showed he was cheating on me. This is what particularly gets me right here. She just says in her witness statement, I confronted him about it. Not, I was yelling and screaming and calling him all of these terrible names. Now let's cut to what Johnny says.
Again, there was another confrontation, another argument about something or other.
Something or other, and he kind of does his, this classic smile that he does so often. And I saw a lot of times where he kind of smirks in times where something was particularly traumatic for him. But let's take at his UK witness and his UK testimony in regards to whether or not he remembers what this particular argument was about. I was at Penthouse 5, which is different, of course, than what Whitney said. Whitney said that they were in Penthouse 3 and 4. He says, I was at Penthouse 5 with Miss Heard and her sister. So that's entirely new already. Miss Heard was in an extremely argumentative mood and kept trying to provoke me to have an argument with her. I cannot remember the specifics of this particular argument, but Miss Heard always managed to find something to try to argue about. Okay, let's see what he said in the UK trial. On the 23rd, you and Miss Heard had an argument because she found out that you were having an affair with Rochelle. Answer, well, she was quite jealous of Rochelle and several other people, so I do not know that she found out that I was having an affair. I do not recall having an affair. Then the attorney says, that is what the argument was about. He says, I do not recall that the argument was about Rochelle.
At some point, we were upstairs in Penthouse 3, and we kind of get into how do you describe it? Pushing each other,
I think she's really picking and choosing her words here, right? She didn't want to necessarily admit pushing each other.
And I just remember being so mad at him for cheating on me, and it just felt like everything came crashing down, and I was so hurt. Anyway, I break out of his grasp at some point, and I go into my sister's.
Whoa, 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 whoa. She jumps here. It's a pretty significant jump, right? She talks about we were doing this pushing each other, and now suddenly she's saying I break out of his grasp, and she kind of throws it away. We missed a few steps here, but at no point did she explain that she was being grasped by him. She said that they were pushing, so that a little peculiar to me.
I break out of his grasp at some point, and I go into my sister's room. The apartments in the ECB are connecting.
Amber and Johnny apparently are having some pushing match, and then at some point we miss a few steps, but she gets free from his grasp, and then she crosses here into penthouse 4 where Whitney is.
So I went through Johnny's office, which is how you access the door that gets you into Whitney, and I went in there and woke her up crying, screaming.
She went from penthouse 3 into penthouse 4 where Whitney was sleeping, yelling, screaming, crying, and wakes up her sister Whitney. Let's jump to see what Travis McGivern. So Travis was a security guard of Johnny Depp's at the time, and he was present for this incident. So let's see what his account is.
But I remember getting the text. He requested I meet him at penthouse 5 and requested that I bring his nurse that was working.
Travis is saying that Johnny sent him a text and requested that he come to penthouse 5 and also bring nurse Debbie.
I was staying next door at a hotel, and security had come to get me saying that they had had an argument and Johnny wanted to go back to 86.
Sorry, is 86 the Sweetser property?
Yes. And so I went to the loft, and I remember that night Amber was already leaving. She was in the lobby when we walked through.
Whoa! Okay, so Debbie is saying Johnny wanted to leave. He wanted to go to another property that he owns. And so that's very interesting to me, because we have seen in recordings and evidence and other testimony that oftentimes when there was a conflict between Johnny and Amber, Johnny wanted to leave and Amber did not allow him to leave, that she had this kind of control, that she insisted that he stay or insist that he argues, and then things would turn physical into bigger altercations. She even in recording taunted him. It's also interesting that Debbie is saying that she actually met Amber in the lobby of the building.
Lobby when we walked through, and when she saw that I was coming, she came back up to the apartment.
In the lobby, we ran into Miss Heard. She was at the front desk talking to security.
Amber and Whitney, neither of them testify to being in the lobby. It's a pretty large discrepancy here, and I'm curious if she actually was in the lobby, why would she leave that information out? Did Johnny potentially go down to the lobby trying to leave, and then did Amber follow him down there? It's an interesting gap.
Miss Lloyd stayed downstairs with Miss Heard. I proceeded upstairs to meet Mr. Depp at penthouse 5 as requested.
These stories they're already just confusing, right? I decided to look up Travis's testimony in the UK trial. So the question is referring to Johnny Depp and saying, he asked you to bring nurse Debbie Lloyd. That is correct. And you and Miss Lloyd entered the flat together. Is that correct? Travis says, no, we did not. So then the attorney, the solicitor, reads a statement that Travis had made back to him. This would have been in his witness statement. When Miss Lloyd and I entered his residence, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp were having a verbal argument. What in the whole grain, gluten-free, sugar-free audacity is happening, Travis? Travis, I'm gonna need you to get your story together, Travis. Travis is saying right here that Johnny and Amber were in one of the penthouses, and that Travis and Nurse Debbie, they go through the lobby and they first encounter them in one of the penthouses, but that is in direct conflict with Travis's recorded deposition where he says they arrived and Amber was in the lobby. Maybe none of this really means a whole lot of anything. I do think that it's interesting. He says, yes, I see what it says here. And then he changes his story. We did not enter together right away. We ran into Miss Heard downstairs. Miss Lloyd stayed with Miss Heard downstairs in the lobby. I went upstairs and met with Mr. Depp as he requested. And it still leaves this kind of hole with Amber and Whitney's statements. So then they go into a little more clarification with Travis, okay? And the attorney says, the account you are giving today is very different, is it not? He says, it is different, yes. The attorney again, when you entered the apartment according to your new account, Miss Heard and Mr. Depp could not have been having a verbal argument because Miss Heard was not even there, was she? Then Travis says, I was with Mr. Depp. We were attempting to leave, crucial little new addition there. We all entered penthouse 5 together. Nurse Lloyd, Mr. Depp, Miss Heard, and myself, there's no mention of Whitney, and that is where the argument escalated. This is so different than Amber's statement. It is even different than the initial accounts that Johnny has given.
I don't know how we got into... I think I heard him in P5. Again, this is the neighboring apartment of that. So there's...
that was a big ass, just like, there's this thing, you know, like mouth blocking, or like literally if you like bite your lips, which she does often. Often in those situations, especially if it's not something that you do generally in your baseline when you're telling the truth, that's often a sign that someone is stopping themselves from saying something. And I do believe that's what's happening here, because Amber is saying that she doesn't know what happened or what transpired. I find that a little difficult to believe because she remembers so many tiny, minute, insignificant details that it's hard for me to believe like these large, like more important moments in the story that literally get you from point A to point B. We know it's like, I believe it's called like Pinocchio syndrome. Pinocchio something, right? You know, the nose grows when we're lying. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes if somebody is fabricating, if they're telling a little lie, they might touch their face. Oftentimes it's the nose.
I don't know how we got into... I think I heard him in P5 again.
So now she's saying that instead of them being here in penthouse 3 and then she moves to penthouse 4 with her sister, she's now suggesting that Johnny was in fact in penthouse 5, and that aligns with what Johnny said, but she doesn't say how he wound up in penthouse 5.
Apartment was empty basically, and so I used it, the bedroom's on the top floor as my closet, and I had all these clothing racks and shoe racks and stuff like that in there. And then it had another level, the mezzanine, which is it hung over the rest of the bottom floor. And I use that as my office.
She starts off this by saying that apartment, meaning penthouse 5, is mostly empty, but then says she uses it as her closet. And then says it has all of these clothes and shoes, and then says it also has her office. So I'm not sure why it was framed as being empty. It's just, again, I'm not trying to like dissect so much of the story. I don't mean to be doing that, but when I see these things that don't make sense, it makes it harder for me, and like I would imagine a jury member, it makes it harder, like sets up just, bitch, I am confusion. So that's not how I would define an empty space, but you know, potato, potato.
And the bottom floor is of course the living room with just some sparsely decorated, just some big couches and a low table.
Sparsely decorated, just some big couches. It just gives me this feeling that she is inaccurate with the details. Let's cut now back to Whitney.
So I was sleeping. I woke up to Amber in my bedroom saying, "Can you believe he's cheating on me? Your fucking brother is cheating on me."
I thought that was quite interesting. Whitney does not say that Amber was yelling, screaming, crying. I pulled up Whitney's UK witness statement. This particular night, Amber came in and she was crying and screaming, "Can you effing believe this? Your brother is effing cheating on me." So in the UK, she says Amber was screaming and crying and expletives. She does not frame it that way in the U.S. testimony. I was sober because Amber woke me up and got me out of bed. You can be asleep and drunk. I'm just saying. And it's like when information is just flying and like it just doesn't make sense, I just feel like that Homer Simpson meme where I don't know. Bitch, I don't know what you're saying anymore. I don't know. I don't understand.
Johnny comes into penthouse 4 and grabs me. I don't know why. I don't know what he was doing, but...
Oh, bitch! I'm sorry. Again, I'm trying to be there and like take Amber's word. Just to be fair, we're trying to listen to her testimony here. But I feel like every time she's glazing over, I feel like those are the pockets that in reality the story might be filled with Amber being aggressive. She starts a sentence going one direction and then all of a sudden she cuts herself off and then she's over here and then she's over here. Those to me are signs of someone who's very meticulously kind of picking and choosing what she decides to share with the jury.
Grabs me. I don't know why. I don't know what he was doing.
And then she's like, at some point he grabs me and I don't know what he was doing. It's you literally just testified moments earlier that you were screaming and crying and accusing him of having an affair. So to then say he grabs me and I don't know what he was doing, I don't know why. Again, I'm trying to get there with you, Amber, but I can't. Now it's like you don't know why he maybe was upset.
At one moment I I'm aware that my sister's somewhere nearby, and I thought about that. I just remember thinking about that, and
She doesn't remember why he came into the room and was upset. She doesn't remember how she was in his grasp. She doesn't remember all of these things that would be, I would think, particularly keen to someone who had survived this trauma. But she somehow remembers thinking that her sister was in the room. And again, this is something that she likely was potentially coached to do, as I've explained in previous videos. They are heavily prepared and coached that she wants it to be about her sister and her sister's life being potentially threatened. Again, if you were having an argument about allegedly catching Johnny having an affair, I don't think that what you're immediately thinking about is my sister. You're thinking about the affair.
I remember getting kind of free from Johnny, and he left, or he walked out of the room.
I instructed her to...
Again, we're getting the big dramatic nose wipe going on there. It's hard to track this with Amber because she has left out so many details.
I instructed her to stay in my apartment while I go and talk to Johnny. So I leave PH4, I leave her in PH4. So I go to PH5 where Johnny, Debbie, and Travis were all standing in the kitchen. I went down there to talk to him.
Amber saying they have like a tussle here, but she doesn't remember like really any details about it. Johnny goes back to penthouse 5. So Whitney goes to talk to Johnny and she encounters Nurse Debbie and Travis. What you got for us, Travis?
So Whitney wasn't there when we first all walked into penthouse 5. When Miss Lloyd and I stepped out to give them some space, she must have come in at some point because she was in there when we walked back.
So Travis is still sticking to what he said, that Whitney wasn't there.
I remember getting kind of free from Johnny, and
When you say free from Johnny, what, if any, connection did you have, the physical connection before that?
Yes, Amber, what do you mean by getting free from Johnny? We all would like to know.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to stand up for myself, and Johnny would, at that stage in our relationship, he would just...
We're not talking about that stage in your relationship. We are specifically talking about the moment that you were in his grasp, and how did you get free from him?
Throw me, shove me. All I could do is just try to fight back, or try to... I don't really recall specifics. I remember at one point He had his uncasted hand in my hair, and I was...
Oh my gosh. I think what she's doing here is because she's saying that she didn't remember how it became physical, she glazes over that, and I think to counteract that, she tells the jury this kind of long-winded non-answer about, well, just in general, we had confrontations and I would have to fight back or stand up for myself and get free from him. That is a deflection. It's a non-answer.
He had his uncasted hand in my hair, and I was looking at the carpet. I don't know what happened immediately after that, but I remember he left.
Let me let me know what you think about this. Is it just innocent, like she just doesn't remember the details? We have to reserve that possibility. Or does it sound like she is just kind of glazing over her part in this situation? I don't know where Whitney is at this point in Amber's stories. Johnny, maybe he's in Penthouse 5, maybe Whitney's in Penthouse 5. Again, the stories are just conflicting across the board with everybody here. They have this altercation. She gets free, she saw some carpet, and Johnny left.
So I go to PH5 where Johnny, Debbie, and Travis were all standing in the kitchen.
So Whitney leaves Penthouse 4, goes to Penthouse 5 where she says Johnny, Debbie, and Travis are.
And again, I can tell he's clearly drunk, and he has a bottle of alcohol of some sort in front of him as well.
So this is interesting to me in that Whitney says that Johnny was drinking and that he was clearly drunk here, but Amber does not say anything about Johnny drinking or being drunk. I feel like that would be a pretty significant part of Amber's testimony because they're hinging so much of the allegations on Johnny being on substances or alcohol when the monster comes out. But Amber doesn't make mention of that, but Whitney does.
And let me just stop. Are you sober, drunk? Have you been drinking?
Oh, rare occasions where I was sober.
Rare occasions where I was sober.
So you were sober?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Okay. And again, he's talking to me about how Amber found these text messages between him and a woman called Rochelle, and then he starts saying that this woman was meaningless, there wasn't anything special, she's nothing special. He immediately shifted to, well, Amber pushed me, Amber made me do it, and of course I'm cheating on her, you know.
That was, again, another thing that was not in Amber's testimony, so I thought that was an interesting little addition to the story there. If we rewind back a little bit to Whitney's UK witness statement, to the best of my recollection, Johnny had an almost empty bottle of whiskey in one hand. Travis, Debbie, Johnny, Amber, none of them say that he was drinking whiskey. He was drinking whiskey even though his sobriety nurse, Debbie Lloyd, was there with him. I walked down the stairs towards him. Then she goes on to say, Amber came in and was on the mezzanine level and was screaming at him. F you, Johnny. Johnny was on the ground floor screaming verbal abuse. I have to point this out. When Whitney is talking about Amber screaming F you, one would classify that as verbal abuse, right? She very intentionally didn't call Amber's screaming F you abusive, but she said that Johnny's words were abusive. So it's painting a certain narrative, isn't it?
At some point, then Amber is on the mezzanine level of PH5.
So I go in there because I hear him and he's screaming, but I don't know why. I don't know who he's. My understanding was he was screaming at me, but I wasn't in that apartment.
What?
I could hear him.
You could hear him screaming. You went in there, but you didn't know why he was screaming.
I came into Penthouse 5 and I went down the stairs to the mezzanine level where my office was, and I could see him and a security guard and Debbie, the nurse.
So she doesn't make mention that Whitney was in there at this point. She just talks about Johnny being in 5, she's in 4. Then she goes to the mezzanine in 5. She doesn't name him, but she sees Travis and she sees Nurse Debbie. And there's literally no mention of Whitney. Let's jump back over to Amber's UK witness statement, which is completely different. I confronted him about it and he reacted badly. He started smashing things up all around the apartment, including possessions of mine in my closet. So nowhere in the US testimony does she say that he started smashing things up all around the place. She then says, I went to the penthouse next door where my sister Whitney was staying and told her what happened. I also remember Johnny and I were shouting at each other, and at some point he started hitting me. Not in his grasp, not pushing each other.
And he was sitting on the sofa when I first walked into the room, and he kind of stood up, was drinking a Red Bull.
So that's interesting. She says he was drinking a Red Bull. Pause for reaction. Amber says Johnny was drinking a Red Bull. Whitney says Johnny was drinking a whiskey. And those are two very big discrepancies between the two of their stories. What does it mean? Leave me some comments.
Debbie came up the stairs. She came up the stairs, I think.
I leave them in the kitchen to go up the stairs, was trying to calm Amber down.
The stories are so conflicting, all of them, that we're gonna have to look at a little animation because a bitch is confused, okay? Allow me to present to you my very meticulously handcrafted animations.
Debbie came up the stairs because I'm screaming back at him. She came up the stairs, I think. She came up, I'm supposed to kind of comfort me, and while I was up on the mezzanine floor, Whitney came down.
I leave them in the kitchen to go up the stairs, was trying to calm Amber down, hopefully get her back into my apartment, and Debbie had come up with me. So we're with Amber on the mezzanine level.
You and Debbie that are with Amber, or is
Yes, Debbie, Amber, and I are all on the little mezzanine.
Debbie, as I remember, Debbie Lloyd was at the front door of Penthouse 5, standing by the door. Mr. McGivern was kind of at the bottom of the last group of stairs.
And he threw the Red Bull can up at me, certainly, but it kind of either hit or narrowly missed Debbie.
Johnny then hurls a Red Bull can and it hits Debbie in the back. She didn't even react. She didn't really seem to notice.
Do you remember Mr. Depp throwing anything at Miss Heard?
I don't recall.
Whitney had come in. They were both on the middle level, the office level. And I saw Miss Heard throw a Red Bull can from her position that struck Mr. Depp in the back.
I remember that something was thrown from up there. I don't recall what it was, but something was thrown at me. It seemed like it was like I don't know if it was a bag of like pens or but it was from her office area.
Do you recall seeing Miss Heard throw anything at Mr. Depp?
I do not.
So Debbie is asked, did Johnny throw something? I don't remember. Did Amber throw something? I don't remember. I'm telling you, Debbie is just like, I am so checked out of this.
And he threw the Red Bull can up at me, certainly, but it kind of either hit or narrowly missed Debbie. And I said I called him a pussy. And
it's very interesting to me that she's saying that she, shouted down at him and called him a P word after he allegedly threw something at her, because calling him that is a very aggressive name, right? Classically, it's a word that's been used to imply that he's, weak, that he's a sissy, that he doesn't have the balls, you know what I mean? So it feels a little strange to me to use a word like that and be that combative in this situation when she's alleging all types of violence against her, especially as what she's saying, she is a survivor of this.
I at least called him a fucking pussy. I don't know what else I said, but I was screaming at him because he threw this can at me and everything else that had happened. And when I did that, he bolted up the stairs. And, there's only, he was up the first flight of stairs. Again, I'm on the mezzanine, which is in between two flights of stairs. He bolted up the steps. I don't know how he managed to get his hand in my hair so fast, but he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kind of was yanking me down and hit me in the face with this cast he had.
So at this point, she's alleging that he had the full hand cast. And cast is a very hard material. It's gonna be really brutal on the face. I would venture to guess that the skin would probably break open from that type of impact, but we don't have any reports from her or from doctors or anything saying that she sustained injuries like that. So now let's look at Whitney's statement from here on.
I'm standing up there talking, I'm at the top of the stairs with my back to the stairs. And that's when Johnny runs up the stairs. And again, I'm facing Amber. He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back, kind of just somewhere over here. He strikes me in the back. I hear Amber shout, "Don't hit my fucking sister." She smacks him, lands one. At that point, that's when Travis runs up the stairs after Amber landed one. But by that time, Johnny had already grabbed Amber by the hair with one hand and was whacking her repeatedly in the face with the other.
So she's saying Johnny comes up behind her. She's between Amber and Johnny. Stairs are back here. She's facing Amber and Johnny comes up behind her. Therefore, if Johnny's behind her, Johnny is the one who is exposed to falling down the stairs, not Whitney. And she says Johnny runs up, strikes her in the back, and then Amber sees that and Amber lands one on Johnny. She motions with her right wrist. Amber lands one on Johnny. Presumably she's still in the middle of them, but then somehow Johnny grabs Amber with his uncasted hand and is hitting her in the face, which I don't think any of that could happen with Whitney still between them. There's a disconnect here as to where Whitney actually is now in this situation.
I just remember this brief struggle we had before kind of break away. Whitney, my sister, all of a sudden put herself in between Johnny and I.
That's a very strange phrasing to me right there. She says, "We break away Whitney."
She just threw herself like in the line of fire or whatever. She just all of a sudden was there and was trying to get Johnny to stop. Her back was to the staircase.
I'm sorry, this doesn't make sense. Whitney said that she was already in between the two of them and Johnny ran up and struck her, and that's what prompted Amber to strike Johnny. Amber's saying she's having some kind of struggle with Johnny already, and Whitney puts herself in the middle of them then. I'm trying to get there, but those two things do not line up.
And Johnny swings at her, and I just see my little sister with her back to the staircase.
And that's when she says Johnny swung at her sister, which is very much not Whitney's account. And also Whitney's account at this point is that Travis was also up at the stairs now at this point.
At that point, that's when Travis runs up the stairs after Amber landed one.
And Amber makes absolutely no mention of Travis also being on these mezzanine in front of the stairs, but then somehow Amber is saying that Whitney's back is to the stairs, but Whitney says Johnny is the one who's closest to the stairs. So while even if Whitney's back was to the stairs, if Johnny swung and hit Whitney, Whitney would go forward into Amber away from the stairs, or if somehow Johnny, I don't know, pulled Whitney or something, he would be the one going down first.
And Johnny swings at her, and I don't even wait for any other, I don't hesitate, I don't wait, I just in my head instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs.
Ooh.
And I swung at him.
Amber made very big mistake. By Amber mentioning Kate Moss, she opened the door for Johnny's past relationships to come in and testify. If Kate Moss were to come in and say, no, Johnny was never physically abusive or anything to me, then that would be a really big detrimental thing to Amber's case.
In all of my relationship to date with Johnny, I hadn't landed a blow. And I, for the first time, hit him. Like, actually hit him. Square in the face.
Whew, child. Okay, so what we are going to do is rewind back to 2016. We are talking about Amber's videotaped deposition, which is just a whole ass.
Isn't it true, Ms. Heard, that in September of 2015, you punched Johnny Depp in the face with a closed fist?
I hit Johnny one time. Johnny was hitting me, and he was hitting me hard and repeatedly, and I was screaming. Security walks in, and they don't do anything about it. He makes this motion when Jerry Judge yells "boss" or Sean. I can't remember who it was.
She can't remember the security guard that was one of the witnesses to this alleged abuse.
And all we had was a little bit of separation, and my sister runs down the stairs. We're on a landing in between two flights of stairs.
So that is a completely different account, saying that my sister runs downstairs. Johnny was already on the landing, the mezzanine, with her and was hitting hard and repeatedly, does not mention that there is a cast. I would think that that is a very significant part of this story, that it's not just that you're being hit, you are being hit with a very hard thing. Imagine like somebody is retelling a story where they were attacked with somebody swinging a bat. They wouldn't just say, oh, the person was hitting me. They would say, they were hitting me with a bat. It's a very important detail because it intensifies the level of violence in that instance. And then she says nothing about what Whitney said, where Whitney was like, I came up the stairs, and Whitney said I came up the stairs with Debbie. Now Amber's saying Johnny and her were already on the mezzanine and Whitney came down from the other stairs.
He was about to push my sister down the stairs. She was attempting to break us up. I am protective over my baby sister. When he laid hands on her, I don't know what I did, but I know I jumped in between the actions that I saw could lead to a fatal injury to my sister. She was standing on the top of a flight of the stairs, and she has never hurt anyone in her life.
I'm sorry, this doesn't make any sense. Because in order for Johnny to push Whitney down the stairs, Johnny would have to be on this side of the stairs, and Whitney would have to be on this side, right? But in Whitney's account and in Amber's new account, Whitney is actually here, Johnny is here. Again, Johnny being the one exposed to falling down the stairs. He cannot push Whitney down the stairs if he is behind her.
But I know I jumped in between the actions that I saw could lead to a fatal injury to my sister. She was standing on the top of a flight of the stairs, and she has never hurt anyone in her life, and she does not deserve to be pushed down the flight of stairs.
Amber is real angry here. You literally see her entire color change from a more pale color to very bright red. It's very challenging, very aggressive here.
And I would have done what anybody who has a child or a sister would have done. I don't know what part of my body I put in between me and him and her.
And then she says that she put her body in between Whitney and Johnny.
You testified that Mr. Depp allegedly hit you during that incident, right?
Yes.
But you aren't sure if that contact was even meant for you, right?
I honestly don't. I don't know what he was aiming for. My back was to him.
You punched Mr. Depp because you allegedly thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs, right?
I hit him when he swung at my sister.
You thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs like he had thrown Kate Moss down the stairs, right?
He swung at Whitney, and I had heard a vague rumor about that.
A lot of this just doesn't make any sense when you thread all of them together. And then of course, when you work in the UK witness statements and the UK testimony, it's just such a mess. So now I want to jump back to Whitney's UK witness statement and testimonies. Next, she says Johnny was still on the ground floor with both of his security guards. So now she's saying that there are 2 security guards there, but we've only heard of Travis being there. But now suddenly there's a whole other security guard there? I'm not really certain, according to Whitney. And she says he threw a Red Bull can at us, meaning her and Amber, and it hit sobriety nurse Debbie. But nowhere in this statement does she say that Debbie went up the stairs. And I stood with my back to the stairs facing Amber, but between them. Now, the thing that's curious to me is facing Amber. I would imagine if you think that Johnny is the alleged aggressor, you would have probably your sights on him. One would think that you would probably be facing the abuser to make sure, things are in check. Then she says when he got to the top of the stairs, he was pulling me backwards so he could get to Amber. I remember being scared because I was worried that I would fall backwards and fall down the stairs. So now in this statement, Whitney is saying that Johnny didn't come hit her in the back, which would push her forward. She's now saying that he was pulling her backwards. Not even Whitney in her US trial said that she was being pulled towards the stairs, and Amber said she was afraid he was going to push, which means he'd have to be again on the other side. Johnny reached out to shove me out of the way to lunge at Amber, so she's saying she's being pulled but also shoved, which are two very different directions. You're being pulled, you're being shoved. Amber suddenly lurched forward and hit him. If Whitney is between Amber and Johnny and the stairs are here, Amber suddenly lurching forward to hit Johnny would sandwich Whitney between the two of them and potentially cause Whitney and Johnny to topple down the stairs. Then she says here, I didn't see exactly how Amber hit him, but it didn't seem especially hard. Well, how do you know it's hard if you didn't see it? She then says, somehow I was pushed out of the way, so I wasn't between them, but I was standing right there next to them when Johnny grabbed her by the hair with one hand, and I saw him punch her really hard in the head with his other hand multiple times. And again, absolutely no mention of him wearing a cast. I was trying to push my way in between them to stop Johnny from hitting Amber when Travis stepped in to pull them apart. Now, if we go to Whitney's UK testimony, which, you know what, I almost feel like I need to do a dramatic reading here and put on my absolute just terrible English accent. And you are facing your sister? That is correct. And you are able to say, despite the fact you did not see your sister punch him, that in fact it was not especially hard. No, I did not especially see she made contact with him. I did not have a good visual on that, so it's a little odd to be testifying about the type of hit if you didn't actually see it.
And you saw your sister hit Mr. Depp on the stairs that day, right?
After he struck me, yes.
So then here's where things get really interesting. What you omit and what your sister omitted to put into the statement was, in fact, the most important detail of all, which is that when Mr. Depp was hitting your sister in the face, he had a cast on his hand, a bright green cast. Do you agree he had a cast on his hand? I do recall that, yes. I just also do not think that it is the most important detail. And again, that cast can be construed as assault with a deadly weapon. I think it is a tremendously important detail that both of them left out of their statements. Are you suggesting that the fact he had a hard cast on his hand when he was hitting your sister in the face was an unimportant detail? The most important detail for me was that this is the first time that I ever saw physical violence, something I knew had been happening for years. I remember being scared I was going to fall down a flight of stairs. Those are the details that I find important. Now, I do have to point out another major discrepancy here. In the US trial, Whitney never says that she was afraid that she was going to fall down the stairs or be pushed down the stairs. She only mentions that in the UK testimony, and this is a huge factor of Amber's US testimony, trying to make the claim that Whitney and she were afraid she was going to fall down the stairs. A huge discrepancy. But this is quite a lot of time later has passed by now. You're no longer afraid for your safety because you're not in that situation anymore, so the cast would be a very important detail. Question: you were essentially shoved out of the way and then he hit her in the face? I was still in between them. So Whitney is maintaining in the UK trial that she was still in between Amber. Really, in that scenario, it seems like the only way for Whitney to potentially fall down the stairs is if Amber pushes Whitney down the stairs, or if Amber is attacking Johnny. That would knock not only Whitney down the stairs, but Johnny down the stairs. And now let's take another look at Amber's witness statement. I recall Whitney standing between Johnny and I when he was trying to attack me on the mezzanine level. He pushed Whitney out of the way so he could reach me. So that is in conflict with Whitney's UK testimony. Amber is saying that he pushed her out of the way. Again, if Johnny came up the back, if he pushed her out of the way, one would assume that he pushed her Whitney either forward or he pushed Whitney to the side. Therefore, Whitney potentially wasn't exposed to the stairs. Amber then says, I lunged at Johnny to stop him from hurting my sister and struck him to protect her. Johnny grabbed me by the hair with one hand and hit me repeatedly in the head with the other. His security stepped in and separated us. And then she says something really interesting. I would say that I held my own this time. I remember connecting with him physically, even if it was not much of a blow. It was a point of pride. It's a really interesting thing that's not common for a DV survivor to say. I was almost bragging about it, that I got a lick in. Again, not typical behavior of a survivor who is afraid for their life to then be bragging about it. Now let's go to Amber's UK trial testimony. I did strike Johnny that day in defense of my sister. He was about to push her down the stairs. He was about to push her down the stairs means Johnny would have to be on this side of the stairs to push her this way. And the moment before that happened, I remember information I had heard very recently. She keeps wanting to put in this Kate Moss thing, which is a mistake, which is he pushed a former girlfriend, I believe it was Kate Moss, down the stairs. Then the attorney catches the Kate Moss thing because that was not mentioned in her witness statement and says, you have just added that bit in. Amber interrupts, I have never changed my story. Attorney says, you have changed your story because she's interrupted. That is not true. Miss Laws, you have changed your story because you have added in the detail about Kate Moss, have you not? Amber, that is always what it has been. Amber did not mention that in her witness statement. I will ask it again. In none of the documents, neither in your deposition, do you mention the person in your mind was Kate Moss, had anything to do with this? Then they want to go to the passage in the deposition, so I believe here they play the video, and in that she never says anything about Kate Moss. And again, I want to point out what I think is even more alarming in the UK trial. Amber does not mention anything about Johnny having a cast on his hand.
This took place on the landing where she was coming out, trying to get to me, trying to hit me. And then Whitney, her sister, was there who...
Johnny doesn't really get into many details at all. It is what it is. I just wanted to point that out.
What was interesting was now is that Whitney stepped in front of Amber and was facing Amber to stop Amber. And when she was in between us, Amber snuck in she got the roundhouse in and nailed me on the cheekbone.
And Johnny kind of looked stunned and then laughed at me and then lunged at me again. And before I know it, security stepped in between us and pulled Johnny away. And I went upstairs with my sister, and we locked the door, and I could just hear all this commotion happening in Penthouse 5. I could hear him raging, destroying my things. I could hear it. And at some point I saw it the next day.
Tell the jury what you saw the next day.
All these all my clothing racks were toppled over, shoe racks toppled over, thrown down the stairs, desk, everything on my desk wiped off. It looked like everything that he could touch, he tried to turn over, destroy, smash, Clothing racks, these huge, heavy clothing racks full of clothes. There was at least one of them he threw down the stairs.
Let's go now to Whitney.
Travis pulls them apart. I get Amber into mine. I close the doors behind me and lock them. I hear Johnny's voice shouting, I fucking hate you.
Do you remember witnessing any physical violence on that occasion?
I saw Johnny push over one of Amber's clothing racks.
No physical violence directed at a human, correct?
At one point, Miss Heard and her sister left. Mr. Depp went upstairs and rearranged her closet for her.
This bitch did not just say that Johnny rearranged her closet. I feel like the jackets and the gowns should just swap places. Travis, we've seen the photos, Travis.
Threw down probably every rack of clothing and shoes, threw at least one down the stairs.
Whitney texts photos of the closet damage. What she didn't do is take pictures of Amber's face. Once again, we're in another situation where Amber has no documentation as to any alleged injuries from this incident. And of course, if you are being hit repeatedly and hard with a cast, the face would be brutalized. It would not be a pretty situation. And also, there was a nurse present who witnessed all of this, and you would think, well, if the nurse witnessed somebody getting bashed in the face repeatedly with a cast, that nurse's next job would be to assess the patient, Amber, and to assess the injuries, to document them, and to treat them. As a survivor, I don't want to invalidate a potential other survivor. I want to hear your story. Walk me through it if you can, and I just can't get there with Amber.
You thought it was important to document that damage, right?
Not to document. It was Kevin's job to kind of clean up the houses. I took pictures just so he could be aware of what he would need to bring.
But you didn't take any pictures of your sister that day, right?
No, I didn't.
Boom! Roasted. No one documents any injuries. What we do have documented is a messy closet. She says, "Good morning, sir. So, Johnny destroyed Amber's closet, and there's some other damage to PH5. You're the lucky person I should talk to about that, correct?" All she says is, in what feels kind of cavalier, very like nonchalant, it's like, so, there's some mess in the closet. And again, this was just a couple of hours after this all happened, so she's very calm. And then she proceeds to text him images, and she finishes it saying, "Just to give you an idea." What I did notice also, in none of this testimony does Amber or Whitney ever, in the UK or here, ever say any of the injuries. She never says, my nose busted, my face, my black. She never says anything in this incident.
Did you see Miss Heard again that evening after Mr. Depp was in her closet?
I did, yeah. She must have heard what was going on and not been too pleased. So she shortly after re-entered Penthouse 5.
What happened at that point?
So her and her sister both came back in. We were on the middle level. I felt it was time to get Mr. Depp out of the situation. So I stepped in between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp, telling Mr. Depp that we were leaving and that it wasn't up to him anymore. At that point, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fist and an arm come across my right shoulder, and I heard and saw a closed fist contact Mr. Depp in the left side of his face.
What? Y'all, I don't know what's going on anymore, because now Travis is like, hold on, let me throw another wrench into this story that is already just like off the deep end. Now Travis is saying that he was between Amber and him, and that Amber threw a punch and hit Johnny in the face, but it was Travis who was in between the two of them when that happened, and not Whitney's.
That was Miss Heard's fist, Amber Heard's fist.
And where was Whitney when this occurred?
Can't say for sure, but I'm guessing, or my best guess is behind Amber.
How did Mr. Depp respond when he was punched?
The initial look on his face, kind of a look of shock, like, what just happened? Where'd that come from? Again, I had let him get hit by a Red Bull can. I let him get punched. My job is to ensure the safety and well-being of my clients. Felt like I hadn't done that. So, Mr. Depp was not pleased with me. Naturally. He went into the bathroom for a couple minutes. Miss Lloyd talked to him, and they came out and agreed that it was time to leave.
Now let's just jump really quick to some of Johnny's UK witness statements. Miss Heard was in fact trying to prevent me from leaving the property and beating me in another rage. He said, as a result, I summoned Nurse Lloyd and one of my security guards, Travis, to intervene. When they arrived, Miss Heard and I were having a verbal argument which lasted 60 to 90 minutes. At some point during this argument, I turned to leave and Miss Heard threw a can of Red Bull at me, striking me in the back, but in his US testimony that we just saw, he says he doesn't know what was thrown at him. Mr. McGivern was trying to protect me by standing between me and Miss Heard, but Miss Heard still managed to lunge and punch me in the face with a closed fist. He doesn't say anything, of course, about rearranging closets. Now let's take a real quick peek at his testimony in the UK trial. And you went into PH5 with Miss Heard kept her clothing, kept her wardrobe, and started knocking all of the items and smashing things. I think it is very easy for her to say that I did it. I did not do it. So he is denying having anything to do with the rearranging of the closet, even though Amber and Whitney and Travis also testified that he saw him rearranging there is a higher probability that Johnny is being deceptive here, right? So then the attorney, it says, so this must be another aspect of the hoax, that she destroyed her own clothes in order to photograph them in order to store them up so that she could accuse you of that when she got divorced over a year later. And he says, in my estimation, again, she was building a wonderful dossier and insurance policy for when we did break up. And then they mention that there are text messages from Debbie Lloyd that says, bad night last night, they got into it and it got violent again, I had to separate them. Good thing he called or they would have hurt each other. We had to physically restrain the both of them.
Do you remember witnessing any physical violence on that occasion? No physical violence directed at a human, correct? Okay.
Now there is another potential witness, Jennifer Howell. She was Whitney's former employer. Now there was a declaration by her that was leaked on Twitter claiming that Whitney actually told her a completely different story. I'm not going to go into it a ton here because Jennifer might be testifying, so I want to wait to see her testimony. But here's a quick summary of what she said. When Whitney arrived, she was a mess. Whitney told me she tried to stop her sister Amber from hitting and attacking Johnny on the stairs. Whitney said when she tried to intervene to stop Amber from going after Johnny, Amber nearly pushed Whitney down the stairs. She told me she was worried Amber was going to, quote, unalive Johnny. There is also this letter that Jennifer allegedly wrote to Whitney right after Whitney had testified in UK trial. I'm hoping the truth will set you free from a lifetime of abuse and being forced to live someone else's life instead of given the freedom to live your own. So if Jennifer Howell does testify, she is most likely going to invalidate everything that Whitney testified to. Hi, what are you looking at? Are you looking at your brother? Everyone say hi to Pork Chop. A couple of things and then I'll share my final thoughts. First of all, if you want to join us and celebrate your petty side, Petty University, the freshman collection merch is linked below. Grab yourself some petty items, child, and follow me on Instagram and make sure to tag me in your petty outfits and I will repost you. Oh, chaos. Chaos is coming. Couple of Twitter shout outs from my last doc where I deep dive and broke down all of the lies and inconsistencies with Amber Heard's testimony about the divorce settlement. If you haven't seen it, it's linked below. It is wild. First shout out goes to Medieval Scribe, who says her final thoughts are very true. We, the general public, decide how this trial will affect victims of DV. It is time to acknowledge that men can be victimized by women. Believe all victims, including men, when they come forward with their stories. And second shout out goes to Fraser Stan Club, who says, as abuse survivors, it can be very hard to watch and observe court cases like this and not have one's biases make judgment calls for them. I continue to be amazed and floored by your ability to watch all of this with the most open of minds. It inspires me to do the same. And you are inspired for chaos, aren't you? I could feel it. I could feel it coursing through your veins right now. But honestly, just thank you again to all of you for watching and sharing these docs. Your support just blows me away. I love y'all more than I can say. If you want to be my next Twitter shout out, make sure to follow me on Twitter at SpankyV, linked below, and retweet this video right here. Also hit me up on Instagram, linked in the description. That's where I post most often and respond to a lot of DMs. Be sure to check out Care Of, linked below, and take the quiz to find out what supplements are right for you, and use code SWOOP to get 50% off your first order and give yourself the care that you deserve, honey. As we continue to break down the actual facts of this case and evidence and dig through the inconsistencies, I keep coming back to the same thoughts that DV, SA, and trauma are incredibly nuanced. It's hardly ever documented, and the court of public opinion might wind up completely different from how the jury rules. But what about the statements we've heard often of believe all victims? Like, how do we do that when both sides are claiming to be the victim and we don't buy into mutual abuse, which often only benefits the abuser? Well, that's where the shit gets complicated, right? Are we to believe victims until they contradict themselves or a recording comes out suggesting they're not? Has this trial caused damage to other survivors? Like, these are the challenging questions that I hope to continue digging into with this series and why I want to hear all of the evidence. But I do firmly believe that no matter what the outcome of this trial is, the best thing to come from this in terms of the general public is that we're talking about these subjects. We're talking about DV. We're talking about SA. And my main hope is that we continue to understand that victims can come in any form and identity. No matter what the verdict is in this trial, I hope that Johnny and Amber both get the help that they need, whether that's to heal as a victim or to learn as an abuser. But as a side note, if you are a survivor, I want you to remember that you are strong, you are resilient, and it's not your fault even if you don't feel that way. Share your story if you want, when you want. Your timing is all that matters. And if you don't want to share or don't feel like you know how to share, that's okay. It's your story and yours alone to tell or not tell, and I'm here to listen. But you know what? Y'all got this. Class dismissed. Swoop!